What's up, everybody? It's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. You'll have to excuse my voice today. I'm just getting over a cold. I just thought I'd bring you a lesson today on something that's probably the most important thing that I'll ever teach. After about the 20-year mark in my playing, I started to go a little bit deeper because I got so comfortable with the instrument that I didn't have to quite think about what I was doing anymore. So I'd be on stage, and since I didn't have to think anymore, I could just actually enjoy playing the music, which I believe should be every musician's goal, is not having to think while you're on stage too much. So if you're on stage and you're thinking, what scale is coming up? What am I doing? How are you ever going to be able to, really express yourself through the instrument if you're up here in your head all the time? As a guitar player, as a musician, as an artist, anything like that, you're basically the bridge between two worlds. So now imagine all you do when you're playing a solo is playing a scale. And you're literally just plucking these metal strings on the piece of wood, and you're thinking about what you're doing, you're sticking to a formula. How creative can that really be? You're just basically doing what a robot could do. So our job as musicians, in my opinion, is to bridge that gap between the two worlds, this world and then the creative world. And as a guitar player, if you can tap into that world, it's a whole different way of playing and experiencing music. And the crazy part is, after a while, when you get to a certain level, you can actually have music come to you. So let's say you're jamming with a band, and typically as guitar players, we're kind of worried, like, what scale, what key are we in, what should I play? But there comes a point where the music is just given to you, and you could hear it inside. And to have the ability to instantly transfer that sound through your guitar and into this world is probably the best feeling I've ever had as a guitar player. So what I started to realize is that instead of trying to make things happen and force it, just through skill and technique, I would sit and actually listen, and I would wait for something to come to me, and then I would try to play it on the guitar. And that became an exercise in itself, so we're going to go over that pretty soon. So I decided to give this idea a try. Like I said, it took me about 20 years to get to this point. So I would play backing tracks, I would just create them, and then I would sit there and I would actually just listen instead of playing guitar or trying to figure out what scale I should do. I would just sit and listen. And for the first couple weeks, nothing really happened. I would hear a little bit of a thing and I would figure it out. It was cool, but over time, it was strange. If I visited that creative place every day, a strange thing started to happen. It was like a faucet was turning on and opening wider and wider, and all of a sudden the ideas started to flow to me a lot quicker. And it's kind of freaky at first because you're getting all this new information. You don't know where it's coming from, but you have to figure it out. You have to get it into this world somehow. Play a backing track. Nowadays, there's a million of them to choose from on YouTube. And loop it over and over again. And then on another device, record yourself actually just humming along to it. Don't even pick up your guitar. Leave it on the stand. And I want you to actually wait for an idea to come to you and then just hum it or sing it. Come back to it later and try to figure it out on the guitar, and you'd be amazed at how creative you can actually be without trying to force ideas. Because when let's say you just know one scale really well, you're going to have your bag of tricks in that scale, and you're probably going to do the same things all the time. Even if it sounds good, it's probably going to get kind of generic after a while because you keep using the same stuff. So to get that fresh idea, like the flow coming to you, try this concept, try this exercise and see what it does for you. You might find yourself having to do things on the guitar that you've never would have dreamed of if you stuck to the formulas that you used to always play. And the really cool part is sometimes it'll come to you in the form of a guitar sound. Sometimes it'll come to you as a vocal sound or a trumpet or a piano sound. You just got to get it down with your voice. What I want you guys to do is listen to a couple solos that I will recommend and ask yourself, do you really think the guitar player who wrote this part thought, I gotta fill this with a bunch of notes, I have to do this scale, I have to do this technique? Typically at really high levels, that's not what they do. The three solos I want you to check out that I've noticed these recently on would be Pat Benatar's Shadows of the Night. Listen to the solo on that and ask yourself, is that what you would have composed over that? If somebody handed that to you, if Pat Benatar handed you the song and said, write a solo for this, do you think you would have done that? Because I don't think I would have done that at all. The first thing, if I was a little less, let's say, in touch with the creative side, I probably would have forced it by adding way too much. And if you listen to the actual solo, you'll see that it's kind of all over the place in a really cool artistic way. There's a lot of space that's left. Also, check out Smile by the Jayhawks, and I'll get to the solo part and see if that's what you would have done. And finally, a lot of you guys are aware that Cinnamon Girl by Neil Young is actually just one pretty much one note. But, once again, ask yourself, would I have done this over the solo? Or would my brain, the part of your brain that wants to impress people, would it have said, no, you got to do more. You got to prove that you're good. So you have to do all these techniques. Now that sounds a little bit hypocritical coming from someone who teaches all these techniques from all these artists. Right? It's more like sharpening your tools so that you can bring the ideas into this world the way you want to. And in a strange bit of synchronicity, today I heard an interview with the artist Alex Gray. You might know him from doing a lot of tools artwork, that cool stuff. Anyways, he was on a podcast talking about this exact same thing, which is crazy because I planned to do this video this day as well. And he discussed how when he went to art school, he said his teacher told him that there's a lot of people that enter art school and they have a lot of skill and technique, but they have nothing to say. And as an artist, that's just as important. And so on the other hand, there are people who have a lot to say, but they just don't know how to form it into their art. So they need some studying in that department. So that's why with guitar, we do a lot of those exercises to get our hands in shape so that we can play whatever we want. But what good is all that stuff if you have nothing to say through your techniques? So let's say you have both now. You're able to tap into that creative side, and through all your techniques and practice and theory, you're able to get it into the world the way you want to. That's probably the best of both worlds that you can achieve. So I'd love to hear how this affected your playing, if it brought you to another level as far as being more creative when you play, balancing out all the techniques we do with something creative, and then there's that magic meeting point in the middle where it's going to basically change the way you are as a guitar player. And it's kind of an amazing thing. So be sure to leave a comment and let me know if this has helped you guys at all. If doing that singing technique over the backing tracks has improved your creative side. And let me know. Some of you guys might get stuck on having an idea but not being able to figure it out. That gets into some ear training that we're going to do in the future. But don't worry, we're going to get to that. And then everything's going to be covered. Hopefully you could just get all your ideas into this world. That's my goal. Okay guys, thanks a lot and we'll see you at the next lesson.